Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Shaw Local Bears Insider Podcast. I am Chicago Bears beat reporter Michael Dwojak, being joined here with Joe Aguilar from the Northwest Herald as we are talking to you folks on Monday morning after a fun holiday weekend for Bears fans. Obviously, the big win over the Philadelphia Eagles on Friday, on Black Friday. Hopefully, everyone got a chance to enjoy some time with friends and family over the weekend, and also enjoy a big Bears win over the Philadelphia Eagles 24-15, as the Bears made a big statement going into Philadelphia. And now, after a weekend of football, Joe, it is Monday morning. It is December 1st, and your Chicago Bears are the number one seed in the NFC, just like we all expected heading into the season.
Yeah, what a great weekend. Snowstorm on Saturday aside, right? Thanksgiving weekend, what a game. Friday, game of the year, statement game, all that. A terrific game. And it's nice for Bears fans to be able to enjoy this for a little more than a week before you face the Packers on Sunday. But what a game for the Bears. And it's good to see them getting all the love nationally. I listened to, actually, after the Bears game, I listened to a Phillies podcast, like their post game with a couple of ex-Eagles, including Ron Jaworski, and just to hear them, not so much rip on their team, although they did a lot of that, but to praise the Bears. It was great, a great weekend to be a Bears fan.
Yeah, there's a lot to praise, right? Like, I don't think that performance came together, obviously, without a lot of great performance, a lot of great, showings, a lot of great, big moments from Friday's win. So we'll break it all down. We'll do our usual recap podcast here, but I know it's Monday, so we'll go through it a little bit faster than we usually do, hit on some points, because we also want to have, obviously, the conversation for what this live stream is, named after. Are the Bears true NFC contenders? We'll talk about that here in the second half of the podcast after we break down what happened on Friday afternoon. If you're joining us on the live stream, thanks so much for joining us on this Monday morning. Great to see some comments going. Make sure you guys hit us up with whatever comments or questions you might have, and give us a like as well. Make sure you subscribe. If you're joining us on Facebook, give us a like there as well. And also you can comment on Facebook as well, and your comment should come through and we should be able to see it. So if you want, share comments or questions or whatever, make sure you can do that on Facebook too. So make sure you share that stuff there. And if you're joining us on the live stream or on the podcast, thanks so much for joining us there. Make sure you subscribe and like us there. We're available wherever podcasts are available. So appreciate your support there. All right, we like to do 3 winners and 3 losers from every Bears game that we cover. 24-15, Joe. There's a lot of winners. I'm sure we'll spend a lot of time on the winners and the losers this week. So who is your first winner from Friday's game?
Well, like you said, there could be like 10, right? And like very few of any losers from this game. But I'll go. There's so many ways to go here. But I'm just going to go with Nahshon Wright, who I probably should have given a little more shout out as far as moments that mattered in my 3 and out column on Friday. But Nahshon Wright, I don't know, Michael, what this is. I mean, this is just an unbelievable season. And just to recap again with him, 3rd round pick by Dallas, 3 years in Dallas, 3 starts. They don't want him, right? He's just not very good. Spends all of last season but 1 game, I think, on the Vikings practice squad. Here he comes into camp probably as your 6th DB. And all of a sudden, I joked a couple weeks ago, I don't think he's playing at a Pro Bowl level. Maybe he is. I mean, that the forced fumble and fumble recovery on the tush push, that when Philly, thanks to Javon Dexter, he's probably the loser from all this, had given Philly momentum with that horrible roughing the passer penalty on Jalen Hurts. For Nahshon Wright, Mr. Turnover, him and Kevin Byard, that really changed momentum. Ben Johnson said in the postgame, we all saw it, how he probably shouldn't have given this guy a game, probably should have given this guy a game ball a couple of weeks ago or in the past couple of weeks, any point. But here he does it again, not with the interception, but with that the strip. This is how you foil the tush push. Get in there, get the ball loose. And I think he just did it because he saw a play. It wasn't like something they saw on film. I don't think I didn't hear that from him in the post game. But, and even on that, he got burned on the A.J. Brown touchdown pass, which was a momentum changer for Philly. I mean, he just missed that. His timing was just a little off, and it's A.J. Brown, for crying out loud, one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League. So Nahshon Wright, it's like this is more than when you find find money like $20 in a parking lot. You pick it up and you realize, oh my gosh, there's a $50 bill in there too. I mean, this is beyond found money with him. But wow, what a season he's had, and he continued on Friday in Philly.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that Dallas, his tenure in Dallas, it was a tough situation for him because, they drafted a cornerback before him. So it was kind of like, okay, like, I get that. Obviously, you want to take the talented player in the third round, but it felt like Nahshon was kind of, in a tough situation there. You got two rookies and battling it out. And, it just didn't work out for him in Dallas. He goes to Minnesota. They don't really use him too much. He's injured and all that sort of stuff. Or, he's dealing with some stuff at the practice squad. And then he comes to Chicago and you're just kind of like, all right, like he'll be a good depth piece. Like he had some, characteristics that the Cowboys liked. He'll be good behind Jalen Johnson. He'll be good behind Tyreek Stevenson. And, he's just stepped up in every possible instance this season. Like you needed a big interception to start the season against JJ McCarthy. He gets you a pick six. Like you need a key interception in key moments. That moment where he just sees that Jalen Hurts is, exposed. They aren't calling the tush push, over yet. They're still continuing it on. And he just sees the ball exposed. He just punches at it. He just acts on instincts. And, we've seen him do it, obviously, with incredible interceptions in back-to-back games. So, yeah, I mean, it's a big credit to Ryan Poles. It's a big credit for Al Harris, to, Dennis Allen for listening to Al Harris and being like, trusting his coach and being like, all right, like Al Harris saw something in him in Dallas. He believed in him and he vouched for his guy. And Dennis Allen vouched for him and brought it up to Ben Johnson, and Ben brought it up to Ryan Poles. And that's a credit to how the whole thing is supposed to work, right? Like if your coaches know that there's a talented player out there and they bring it up, and the personnel staff, Ryan Poles, trusts in the coaching staff that they know what they're going to find, like that's a big credit to them. And it's a big credit to Nahshon Wright. Like he came out here and proved something this season. So it's been a really incredible moment. And you kind of saw a little bit about what Jalen starting to come back. I know Tyreek didn't play, but even if Tyreek does kind of come back here healthy in the next game or two or three or whatever, Nahshon has proven that you can't take him out of the lineup. He is a playmaker. He creates turnovers. He makes an impact. Sure, does he get burned a couple times here or there? Sure, that is going to happen. But he is a net positive for this team, and it's been a really fun story to cover this entire year.
And when you have great teams, and look, we don't even know if the Bears were up until the Philly game, if they were good, and they haven't won anything yet. They haven't even clinched a playoff berth. I don't want to have to pump the brakes here a little bit. But when you have seasons like this, pick your league, NBA, NHL, MLB, it doesn't matter. You find guys like this, it all comes together. So it's a combination of your top draft picks working out, your trades working out, your free agent signings working out. And then you get the guy who no one expected to come out of the woodwork and just have a great season. And so everything has been looking this way for the Bears. Like you don't understand it all, but they keep winning for a lot of different reasons. And there are guys who emerge, you get people who we didn't even know who they were 4 months ago. And that's what's happened here with Nahshon Wright.
All right. My first winner is going to be, that offensive line, just that was a dominant performance. And that's something that we kind of been looking for all season long. When they traded for Joe Thuney and Jonah Jackson and they signed Drew Dahlman, you're kind of like, all right, like this, they're addressing a major need. Like last year, it was constantly there are no holes for DeAndre Swift. Caleb is running for his life. And part of that, obviously, we've talked ad nauseum about, part of that was him, part of that was the offensive line. But it was very clear that they needed to fix the offensive line. And that was the first thing that Ryan Poles did over the offseason, right? He traded for those two guys. He signed Drew Dahlman. That was like one of his first big free agent signings. And at the beginning of the year, you're like, all right, like it'll take some time to gel. Obviously, you got three new guys on the starting line. You got a fourth new guy at the left tackle spot. But Joe, that performance on Friday was just dominant. And to do it against the Philadelphia Eagles, who have not only obviously a talented defensive line, but Philly's whole thing has been a dominant offensive line, right? Like they can move the ball, they can manhandle you down the field. Saquon Barkley is obviously a talented running back on his own accord, but part of the argument for DeAndre Swift before he came here was, well, he's got that dominant, Philly offensive line, right? Well, now he's got a dominant offensive line in Chicago where the holes that were created, the lines that were created, like DeAndre Swift and Kyle Mononga, we'll get to them here in a little bit. They created a lot of great, moves and created a lot of big bursts, but they had a lot to work with. The lanes that they had, the green space that they had probably 2 or 3 yards from the line of scrimmage when they got the ball because of how dominant this offensive line was. So that's a big shout out to them. They got a game ball, obviously, and the performance that they've put on since that bye week, starting with the Commanders game, it's gotten better and better every single week. And Friday was just that was just pure heaven if you're an offensive line guru, because that is exactly what you want to see in the type of, consistency at the offensive line, at the line of scrimmage that you want.
Yeah, I mean, they're one of the best offensive lines in football now. Everyone's starting to agree about that, if not the best one. So, and again, it started out slowly. Weeks 1 and 2, we had a lot of criticism for the O-line, and they were false starts, a lot of that. They've cleaned that up. But who would have thought this? I mean, a year ago, this was the weakest part of the football team, the O-line. And this year, it's been the best. I mean, if Deshaun Wright isn't the best story of the year, it's the O-line. It's probably the O-line even more so than Deshaun. But the way they've come together, the way they've stayed healthy, knock on wood, other than the left tackle position. But again, that's been really hasn't been solidified going forward anyway. And yet no one's talking about Trapillo and are they going to get Braxton Jones back off the IR? And is Theo Benedette, is he the real deal? Can we count on him going forward? No one's talking about it. I mean, Trapillo's just come in, fit in seamlessly. And it's every guy. Jonah Jackson, who last year was hurt, and then when he was playing, he wasn't that good. You figured, well, he's going to get hurt at some point this year. Knock on wood, it hasn't happened, but he's been great. Darnell Wright keeps making the social media rounds with another great block. He leveled Jalen Carter. I'm sure everyone has seen. It keeps adding to his resume. I'd be stunned if he's not going to the Pro Bowl this year. It's just what a story. And to see offensive linemen, 10 yards down the field blocking. But the scheming again with Ben Johnson, boy, what a chess master he showed again on Friday. But that O-line, I mean, wow. Who saw that coming? No one. No one saw 9-3 coming. No one saw this O-line coming together like it has.
And it's also a shout out to, the offensive line has done a great job, but the tight ends and the wide receivers have really bought into it too. Like the biggest thing that I feel like Ben Johnson said over the offseason that caught everyone's attention was, no block and no rock. And you're kind of like, all right, like, what does that really mean? How accountable is he going to be? And the first couple of weeks of the season, you saw wide receivers struggle with that. They weren't blocking when they were supposed to be. It wasn't leading the right way. But a big part of this run game working and a big part of this offensive line working is because you see Rome Odunze 5 yards down the play blocking and creating lanes for DeAndre Swift. DJ Moore is doing that. Cole Kmet and Colson Loveland have done a great job as tight ends, as anchors at the end of the line, blocking as well. You've seen a total commitment to it, and it's led to these great results. So it's just been a really impressive performance and turnaround for a group that quite honestly was pretty bad last year. I'd never really built any consistency for their running backs. And it's a completely 180. It's one of the best offensive lines, if not the best offensive lines in the NFL. So that's a big kudos to that group. And obviously Ryan Poles as well. All right, Joe, who is another winner from Friday afternoon's win?
Well, you mentioned, and I'll just piggyback and kind of elaborate on what you were saying about the tight ends, because you're right. They're a huge part of the running game. And I never thought that the dual tight ends would commit and Loveland would work, because you got to get Loveland the ball. You drafted him at 10 overall. And, Kmet's been good, but not great in his career as a Bear. And then he had a bad start. I mean, he was one of my losers. I know one game he had a couple false starts. I'm like, I'm about tired of this. This might be his last year as a Bear. All of a sudden, it's like, we can't lose Cole Kmet next year. We got to keep him around, because both he and Loveland are so versatile. We can play play them as tight ends, you play them as wide receivers. They both block well. They seem to embrace it. They're big, athletic, strong guys who are willing to block. The touchdown catch by Kmet, that was Caleb's best throw. Took a little off the fastball, saw him, get past his secondary, and which was the game. I mean, that was the icer for me. There was still about 6 minutes left in the game, and at that point, I'm like, well, they're not. This is it. That game's over now. And I'm just like, yeah, as a Bears fan, you're probably watching. Like, don't drop that pass, Cole. You're wide open, and he didn't. And he's been that kind of sure-handed receiver. You think about it. I know he's had his drops; they all do, but that this duo is working out. I didn't see that coming either, because I thought you're just going to have to phase out Kmet. And really, Cole's numbers this year, his receiving numbers are really down. It's probably going to be a career low for him when it's all said and done. But it's working, and not only as receivers, but as pass blockers. And they are a huge part of this passing game and the running game.
Yeah, I mean, Friday's conditions were terrible, quite honestly, for passing. Like, the wind was howling. It was constantly 25-mile-per-hour winds. Like, you looked around the stadium and you were walking. I was walking into the stadium, and it felt terrible to walk. And I was like, am I still in Chicago? Like, with how terrible those winds are. But that touchdown pass was incredible from Caleb, the crossbody on the move. And Cole Kmet did a great job of running that route to be open. But I agree. Loveland catches that fourth down pass. He just manhandles his defender, and it just gets open at the first down line. Like, those guys have made. That's exactly what you wanted from them heading into the season, right? A safety net for Caleb in order to be able to create those plays, get those first downs and touchdowns. And that's exactly what your tight ends are doing right now. In an environment where you weren't going to throw 15 yards down the field, 20 yards down the field, you were just trying to get the ball over. That was a great performance from both tight ends to be able to, not only block really well to create those open lanes, but also to, have a couple of key passes or catches in a game that, they weren't really going to throw that much anyway. So I agree. The 12 personnel has worked a lot for this team, and it's been really impressive to watch both Cole and Colston kind of embrace their roles. It could be easy to be like, all right, like, Cole's been here forever. Why are we drafting this, tight end in the first round? Like, I've been here, I've committed, I'm a local guy, all that kind of stuff. And Colston being like, well, I'm the first round pick, I should be whatever. But both guys have embraced their roles and know what they're supposed to be doing up to this point. And that's a big credit to them, obviously, but also the coaching staff, just putting them in a good in places in order to succeed. All right. My next winner, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about these guys. Yes, the lanes were open, but the way that Kyle Monungai, DeAndre Swift ran on Friday was just surreal. Like, they got a lot of great head starts. DeAndre Swift, there were so many times he was juking guys and just making a lot of great moves. And I'm sure there was some, he said after the game, yeah, there was maybe a little bit of like, going against my former team. But I think for a lot of these guys, it was just like proving that they're the real deal. And, DeAndre Swift proved that he was the real deal. For all the questions we had heading into this offseason, you gotta trade for a new running back. You gotta sign a new running back. You gotta, draft a running back in the first round, Ashton Genty. You gotta take him in the second round in that run. And it was constantly over the offseason. You gotta address the running back room because your DeAndre Swift isn't it. And he hasn't played great every single game, but for the most part, it's been a great season for him to kind of come back here. And what he was able to do on a couple of runs where he just juked a couple guys and added 5 or 10 yards after that. Like, it was incredible running from him. We've always known that once you get Swift into open space, he's going to make defenders pay. And then for Kyle Monungai, I mean, he just continues to do what he's been doing all year. I mean, he runs hard. It doesn't matter what he's doing. Like, he just comes out with a burst of energy out of once he gets the handoff, and it's hard to stop him. And that run that he had after the Bears stopped the tush push, I think it was around 20 to 30 yards run, that built upon the momentum that Nahshon Wright created by stopping the tush push, right? Because you flip the field like that quickly, you just change up how exactly you're feeling, and you go from the Eagles about to score. It seemed like it was going to be like, it seemed like it was going to happen regardless that the Eagles were going to score. Then you stop the tush push, and then Kyle Monungai flips the field and you're all of a sudden at the 40-yard line of the Eagles as opposed to your own 30 or 40-yard line. So, big credit to them. First time that two running backs in the same game for the Bears had 100-plus yards since 1985, Walter Payton and Matt Suhey. So that's a big credit to them. Obviously, they had a lot of great blocking in front of them, but still, even behind the blocking, there were so many moments where you knew you were going to run the ball given the conditions on Friday, and both of those running backs just took advantage and made outstanding plays throughout the day.
Yeah, how fun was that to watch? Monungai rapidly ascending as one of my favorite Bears. I didn't see this combination necessarily working on at the beginning of the year. We had so many questions. We had questions everywhere on this football team going into this season. Every position, offense, defense, special teams, didn't know about the coaching. Everything is trending up. But Monungai, Michael, he's had few runs this year, even if they were for 0, 1 yard, maybe a lost one, where I didn't like what he was doing. I mean, there were a couple of plays early in the year where he's figuring it out, like, bad decision. But really, he runs hard. He's fat. I've said it many times. He's fat. I don't know what his 40 time is. I don't know if it matters. He looks faster than I thought he was. For a 7th-round pick, you're figuring you're lucky if you're going to get anything out of this guy. But he runs hard. He's passionate. I love his energy. He's just fun to watch. And again, you have to have lanes and motion. Everything that Ben Johnson is doing has allowed it. But it, again, like any good manager, you put people where they can best succeed and don't try to limit, where they're bad at. But they've done a great job with Monungai and Swift. Good for that guy, right? I mean, and these guys complement each other, and they complement each other. Compliment with an E, compliment with an I. I think that's beautiful. There seems no jealousy. We hear no, talk behind, what we're really saying. DeAndre Swift wants to get out of here because he's not being featured more. Or Monungai thinks he should be getting the ball more. You don't hear any of that, and you know better than me. But this has really turned out to be a nice duo, and they both bring different things. And like you said, with Swift. We saw it last year in his first year as a Bear that when he gets space, he can juke and jive and run away from guys. And now he's just getting more opportunities. And, and with this running game too, Michael, these last 2 weeks have been bad weather games, right? In Chicago with the Pittsburgh game, Friday in Philly. This is I hate to be too old school here with this is when you got to be able to run the football when the weather's bad, but it's true. You saw how it affected the passing in the last 2 weeks. I want to be nice on the criticism of Caleb because of the weather, but that they're able to run the ball in this kind of weather. And I'm guessing we don't have anywhere 70 degrees left in Chicago until next year sometime, probably by May. But that they're able to run the football like this is a really good sign going forward.
I want to do a quick, I'm not trying to diverge us too quickly, but I want to do a quick player A, player B. These are both rookie running backs. Player A, Joe, has 635 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns, and is averaging 3.5 yards per attempt. Player B has 591 yards, 5 touchdowns, and is averaging 4.9 yards. Who do you think is who?
Is Barkley the first one? Is Monungai the second one?
Monungai is the second one. These are rookie running backs. So Monungai is the second running back.
Genty then.
Genty is the first running back. Yeah. Genty has 635. He has more rushing yards than Kyle Monungai, like roughly, 40 yards. But Genty has 181 attempts and Monungai has 121 attempts.
Wow.
And listen, I'm not trying to say that Ashton Genty isn't a talented player. He's obviously a very talented player. It hasn't worked out with the Raiders. I think the Raiders have shown you that you need to address the offensive line. You need, for how great a talent that Ashton Genty can be, there's only so much he can do, right? So I'm not trying to take a shot at Ashton Genty, but the 1st-round pick versus the 7th-round pick has roughly 40 more yards, has 1 less touchdown, and is averaging roughly a yard less than your 7th-round pick. It kind of goes to show, it kind of goes to my mindset of I think running backs, you can find them anywhere. I that's why I would never really invest in a 1st-round pick if I was a GM, but it just kind of goes to show you that you can find value everywhere. And the Bears have found value here in the 7th round.
Well, it also shows you why certain guys coach professionally and other guys do podcasts and are writers and stuff, because they know, right? I mean, look, if there's a Myles Garrett sitting there at one, it doesn't
Sure.
take a genius to say, okay, we'll take him. He's good. But that they, and I don't know how confident they were, thinking, you know what, don't worry about Gent if he's not there, because I still wonder if he had been there, had they taken him. That's another story, and
Sure.
it doesn't even matter at this point. But that you're able to find a guy in the 7th round after how many running backs you passed up late, not even in the 1st round, but as you mentioned, the 2nd round, 3rd round, with Camp Scatterbo. And I was saying, like, why didn't they draft Scatterbo already? You're sitting there in the 2nd round, take him if you like him that much. And that kid's good. He showed it before he got hurt with the Giants. But for a 7th round pick, and people were hyping him in preseason, and I'm like, come on, dudes, he's a 7th round pick. If he rushes for 102 yards this year, you'd be like, wow, what a career he's had as a Bear. But he's more than surpassed it. But that his numbers, that he's been better than Genty. And look, if Genty were here in Chicago running with this offensive line,
I couldn't imagine what that would be like.
His numbers would be a lot better. But
Yeah.
the numbers are what the numbers are, right? So kudos to Manung guy.
Yeah, I agree. Again, that's not to take a shot at Genty. Obviously, his situations are different than Manung guys, but it just kind of goes to show you that if you put a running back in a good situation and they're talented enough, right? Like I don't think Kyle's a talented guy. Like, he runs hard. He does really well. I know his speed might have been a problem for some people, but clearly he's shown that it hasn't been a problem at all this year. So that was just a fun little player A, player B. All right, Joe, what is your final winner from Friday's win?
Final winner, I'll just go with Kevin Byard again, because he like Nishan Wright just continues to make plays. Another interception, 6th of the season. He actually had, I think, his 2nd year maybe in the league. I think he had 8, so it's not a career high, but he's getting there. And the guy's 31 years old, right? He's 31, Byard. And after last year being very mediocre, made very few big plays. Especially with taking the ball away. I mean, he admitted it afterward. I remember in the post-game stuff or postseason stuff after their season ended last year. Like, he knew, like, that wasn't a good year for him. He expected more out of himself. But then you're thinking, well, you're 30. I mean, maybe you've had a great career. You've had a much longer career than anyone thought. So maybe it's about time you start slowing down, right? It's only natural. And yet he's having a Pro Bowl season. I mean, if not an all-pro season, honestly. I mean, he has been so darn good. And these are not garbage time interceptions. I mean, Jalen Hurts had thrown 1 interception all season. The Bears get him on the run, and he makes a pass, and Byard, like, on it he saw that coming a mile away. But that's a veteran. And then, diving interception. And we've seen a lot of Bears DBs drop potential interceptions, and then it's the old line. Well, that's why you play defensive back instead of wide receiver, because you can't catch. But Byard, when he's gotten the opportunities, there was maybe 1 drop. He had another pick early in the season where he could have caught it and he dropped it. But that's it. But he just continues to make play. And whatever he's drinking, I want some of that too, because I'd like to turn back the clock 10 years too as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't get a chance to watch the broadcast. So I don't know if they did, I'm sure AWS or Amazon or whatever did some sort of AWS thing to show how far Kevin Byard went on that interception. But watching that live, like you saw, it kind of played out in slow motion where, Jalen's kind of scrambling. It looks like he's trying to fit that pass into A.J. Brown. And Kevin Byard just instantly sees that and starts sprinting across the field and just locks eyes on him and just the diving catch. That was, and not only was that an incredible interception, just physically, just being able to sprint halfway across the field to make the diving interception, but to have the knowledge. And then I feel like we keep saying this every week with Kevin. It's just you see how much how much film work he does. You see that he sees something and he's like, all right, I know Jalen's tendencies. He's going to do this and he's trying to fit this. And, maybe that's less film work. That the quarterback is just going to try to fit it into the sideline off the scramble. But for him to read that and then to sprint to the other side of the field and make that diving interception, I mean, that's just a credit to him. It was an incredible interception. It was an incredible play just to be able to read that perfectly. I don't think the Bears took advantage of that interception, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, they had to punt. They went 3 and out. That was a missed opportunity. But what an incredible interception. What an incredible play by Kevin Byard, who's had a great season. He leads the NFL. It was 6 interceptions. Is the second most interceptions he's had in the season since he had 8 with the Tennessee Titans in 2019, I believe. So yeah, it's been an incredible year for him, and it's been incredible to just watch him. I think not that he hasn't always worked hard in the film room. I'm not trying to say that, but it's been incredible to kind of watch how maybe he realizes he doesn't have the step that he had when he was 25 or 26, but he's trying to make up for that by just studying and trying to be prepared for whatever happens. Where, okay, maybe I can't run as fast as I was at 25, but I can outsmart you, and I know what you're going to do with your next play, and that's been really fun to kind of watch him just use that to his benefit throughout this season.
Yeah, savvy veteran, right?
All right, my final winner, and there are different ways you could kind of go through this. Obviously, the coaching staff and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to go with Dennis Allen because yes, you got Jalen Johnson back. Yes, you got Kyler Gordon back. That was really great to see. You saw them kind of mix and match, but I don't think. And I think we talked about this last week. I don't think we're giving Dennis Allen enough credit for getting as much out of this defense as he's getting. You're without your top defensive player for the whole season. You're without your top slot cornerback who you just paid over the offseason for much of the season. Your other top cornerback, Tyreek Stevenson, has been dealing with on and off injuries throughout the year. He's been trying to battle it through. You've been without all your starting linebacker. You've been without TJ Edwards for most of the season. Tremaine Edmonds is out. You've been out with your starting linebackers for the past couple weeks. You don't have much of a pass rush outside of Montez Sweat. And yet Dennis Allen still continues to get the most out of this crew. He's scheming and matching the dime packages that they ran on third down, where you're sending Brisker and CJ Gardner-Johnson at the same time, or you got Kyler Gordon on the outside, or you got him inside faking blitzing while Brisker goes. Like the different fronts. Like I know it was a really windy situation on Friday, and that played a major role into Jalen Hurts' meh day. But also Dennis Allen, the schemes and the different fronts that he was showing, it was confusing to run against. Like he didn't know what he was going to do. Was he going to send Brisker? There were times they sent Brisker and CJ Gardner-Johnson at the same time. The fake outs, the deep coverages, like we talked about Vic Fangio a lot in the preview show. But Dennis Allen, Joe, I think it's time we kind of start talking about him more. And I think we've given him his flowers from time to time. But what he's been able to do, especially in the past few weeks with all these injuries and all the different mixing and matches, CJ Gardner-Johnson playing a hybrid linebacker role and all that kind of stuff. Like he is just basically said every week, give me what you can give me, and I'm going to try to make it work. And he's made it work phenomenally the last few weeks.
Yeah, probably the best compliment you can give a coach, any sport, is when you say, well, look, all I got is some duct tape, some thumbtacks, and some Elmer's glue, and can you make this stick together and hold together? And you're like, what? Okay, I'll do what I can. And then the wall holds up. It's like, how did you do that? Because this defense, we've talked so much about it all year, but it's not the most talented group by any means. And you've been doing the best you can with it. And then the biggest thing, of course, is the turnovers. And it's mainly been by the three guys. It's been Wright, Byard, and Edmonds until he got hurt. But they're doing it, and they're making it work. And I'm not a big scheme guy. I couldn't talk an hour on scheme. I don't know that much about football. But I just know the defense has held its own, and it's like they give up a lot of yards to the running game, or the receivers have had some big games against them. But it seems like when the Bears, more often now as the season has progressed, when they've needed to get a stop, like just get one freaking stop, they've been coming up with it. And they've showed some vulnerability even in that Philly game where it looked like the momentum had completely shifted after the A.J. Brown touchdown. And then Philly gives the Bears one back because they missed the PAT, for crying out loud. They probably wish they would have signed Jake Moody off the Bears practice squad. No, I'm kidding, because their kickers are very, very good normally. But I don't know how the defense has done it, but that's a credit to coaching. And Dennis Allen, who, as we know, was well regarded before he came to Chicago as a defensive mind. Kudos to him. A good winner there from Friday's game.
Yeah, I don't think Ben Johnson could have asked for a better defensive coordinator to have in his first year as a head coach, first time. Like it's just been a perfect marriage, and it's worked out really well for both guys. So that's been a credit to them. CJ chiming in, should TJ have gone on IR? I think, it's been 4 weeks. It's my interpretation that I think they thought that this hamstring injury would heal itself, and they didn't want. They only have, I think they only have one or two more designations to return left for the season. So I think they didn't want to burn it in case something else happened. But it's my interpretation that based on the way that, based on what I've seen, is just it must have been a hamstring injury that they thought that could have healed up quicker, and it just, you know how these tough soft tissue injuries go,
Yep.
it just flares up and you just don't know sometimes how it's going to go. So I think they just didn't want to burn an IRR spot and a designation to return spot, and they just felt like this was the best course of action. Maybe they can get him back. We'll see more. We'll hear more from Ben I guess in an hour here, about what maybe TJ Edwards' future is like. But that's kind of my thinking about TJ. It just seemed like they didn't want to burn that designation to return spot for a hamstring injury that they thought maybe could heal up quicker. And that's just how it kind of goes with these soft tissue injuries. You just don't know what they're going to do. And that's why, we always say at the beginning of the season, like, nip it in the bud as quickly as possible. Don't try to play through it, because it's just going to be something that you're going to deal with throughout the season. And that's just something that, TJ got it like toward the end of training camp. And it's been something that he's just been dealing with throughout the whole season. And it's been just tough for him.
Yeah.
All right. We won't spend too much time on losers, obviously, as a big statement win, Joe, but there are some losers. What is one of your losers from Friday's game?
Well, there weren't many. The only one I can really that stands out to me is the Gervon Dexter with that roughing the passer penalty on Jalen Hurts. That was egregious. That was looked ugly. And the Bears, I mean, they've misexecuted on a lot of plays this year, certainly on both sides of the ball. But that was just one of these stupid, inexcusable penalties that 3 plays later, they're in the end zone, and Philly fans have been booing since pretty much early in the first quarter. Oh, yeah. And all of a sudden there's cheers. And why? Because you set it up with a bonehead play. I don't know if he talked afterward, Michael. I don't know what he explained. If he explained it, I don't know how that was like 1, 2, 3, boom, then he hits him. What are you doing on a play that would have netted like 6 yards or something for Philly? I just didn't get it. It was a momentum-changing play, and then the Philly gave it right back by missing the PAT, and then both teams have the turnovers and kind of nullified each other, and then the Nashawn Wright forced fumble on the push-tush. But Gervon Dexter, every Bears fan was probably wanted to throw something, a turkey leg at the TV after that play, because that could have been a real. Like, you can look back, and if they lost that game, that's the guy. He's the bad guy for the week. But they overcame it.
Yeah, it wasn't a great penalty. You got to just know. I understand. Listen, I understand it's easy for us to say, hey, just stop. Like, you've got all your momentum. You've got all whatever. Like, I understand that it's easy for us to say that. But at this point in today's NFL, that has to be in the back of your mind at this point. Like, I understand you want to get at the quarterback, but you got to do anything in your power to avoid touching the quarterback if it's going to seem as a late hit. And again, I understand in the moment it's really hard to do when you're rushing the quarterback and you think that you're about to get him, and then all of a sudden he gets rid of the ball and it seems like it's going to be a late hit. I understand that, but I don't know how you do it. Maybe the NFL needs to change it. I understand the NFL is trying to protect the quarterbacks, but in today's league, if you're a pass rusher, you just have to know what the rules are going to be, and you can't do a hit like that. And that was a hit that I know that Gervon probably wanted back. I didn't hear from him. I didn't get a chance to talk to him after the game. But yeah, it's a play that just can't happen, because it does give Philly a lot of momentum.
And I mean, it's tough, right? If you're rushing a passer, whether you're a D lineman, a linebacker, you're blitzing from the corner or the safety spot, it's hard. I mean, they do so much now to protect protect the quarterbacks. Like, I get it. And there's been so many ticky-tack calls on roughing the passer. And the Bears have benefited, I think, at times too this year. I'm sure they have. But that one, to me, that was a no-doubter. That was an easy call to make there. And in that particular point, it's one thing if you're losing by 20, you're frustrated, you shouldn't do it, but you're just so ticked off and you're angry and the game's over anyway, you do something like that. I get it. But that one, oh my gosh, you were just slaying this team here in front of their home fans. The Boo Birds are probably deafening at Lincoln Financial Field. And then he does this. But you know what? We don't have to talk about it because the Bears won, and hopefully it was just a bonehead play. Everyone will make one, right? If you play long enough in the league, they all do it. We're human beings. We especially in an emotional sport like that, it's going to happen. but man, that was bad timing. But whew, they survived because the Bears survived. That's what they do this year.
Another loser. I don't know if I want to call it necessarily a loser, because I don't think Caleb's performance was a losing performance by any means. Like that touchdown throw that he had to Cole was
Sweet.
That's a heck of a throw. I mean, just cross body dart to get it against the wind. That's one heck of a throw from Caleb. And again, it was 30-mile-per-hour winds. It was not great throwing conditions, but there were just some play like that interception that Caleb had. That was a good. Obviously, that was a great play from the defender to go up there, block the ball, and then to catch the interception. But I just would have gotten rid of the ball there. And there's some times on Friday where I was kind of like, I didn't love that throw. The execution was great in the passing game. And again, I'm not fully committed to calling it a loser performance because it wasn't a loser performance given the conditions and all that sort of stuff. But it just felt like a day for me. It was kind of like, all right, like you didn't really win because of Caleb and that sort of stuff. And that's fine. There are some days you're just going to win because your running backs run for 240 combined. And he made enough plays, I guess, that, he made enough plays. But, I got CJ commenting here, the screen should be removed from the playbook. It hasn't. Sometimes it clicks and sometimes it just doesn't click. And lately, I feel like the screen has not been clicking. And that just led to a bad interception that gave Philly a good opportunity to score.
Yeah, the underthrow. I'm thinking in the first half to Rome when it was wide open in the end zone. He beat, and I'm sure the wins when you're watching on TV, you can't appreciate it. That was bad. Again, what was he for the game, Caleb? He was
he was 17 to 36, a 47 completion rate,
and that's because he got hot. I mean, it was worse than that in the first half. Before he threw that short pass to Burden at the end of the first half. I mean, it was, I think I wrote about it, whatever it was just way, way bad. But it's the front again, here they win. Here they're 9-3. If I would have told you, anybody locally, nationally, any fan, they'd be 9-3 after 12 games, you'd say, well, Caleb must be an MVP candidate. We finally we have our franchise quarterback. He's emerged as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And that hasn't the case. He's still going through his growing pains, as everyone knows and everyone sees every time they play a football game. But that you win that football game and dominated the defending Super Bowl champs with your quarterback who was just like, had a few good throws, but missed a lot, is amazing to me. That's why I think going forward, we're going to get there here in a second. You have to be confident and feeling good. And I know it's, it could all, our feelings can change if they go in and lay an egg against Green Bay on Sunday. But right now, knowing that they were able to, they're able to win a football game the way they've been, and every football game when they're winning the games, they're winning the same way. Running game, takeaways on defense. But the quarterback, boy, it's with Caleb too. It's like if you're comparing what's in your toolbox, and Tyson Bagent has 4 tools, and Caleb, how many tools do you have in your toolbox? 38. You're like, whoa, what? You got all these tools? What? Compared to the other guys, got 4. But it's let's hope it gets there, the accuracy issues, because nothing, it seems like, makes a quarterback look worse other than turning the ball over than missing wide open receivers. So hopefully that gets cleared up, and hopefully we get a day where it's actually just an okay weather day as opposed to the last 2 Bears games.
Well, Joe, it's supposed to feel like 11 in Green Bay on Sunday, so I don't know if we're gonna get that
windy too.
That kind of performance.
It's all right, Joe. Green Bay in June, so we should expect that.
Any other losers from Friday's game?
Not really.
Before we move on,
I'd be nitpicking so much, and it's a long game.
At this point, it is nitpicking.
Yeah, right. Kudos to the Bears. Feel good win of the year by far, even better than Dallas. So let's enjoy it and be positive until the first turnover. Oh, Joe, don't even go there on Sunday.
CJ chiming in, he's saying pass rush wide receivers were losers.
Pass rush every week.
I mean, the pass rush didn't have a sack, and it had 1 quarterback hit, and CJ Gardner-Johnson had the 1 quarterback hit. Yeah, I mean, Jalen Hurts had time. If you were and again, I think you need to take that into context. The what did the Eagles ended up doing? The Eagles ended up passing 34 times, and they ran 17 times. That's insane, actually, now that I'm looking at it, because the Bears ran it 47 times and passed 36 times. And, a big benefit of that was that the Bears dominated the time of possession. I mean, the
Yes.
Bears,
Oh,
had, 85 plays, while the Eagles had 51 plays. So I agree. Like, the pass rush wasn't great. And it's just something that you've been dealing with this whole season. I don't think you're going to see a great pass rush. It's the number one concern for me heading into the offseason. I think Trapillo has played really well, and I think he is your starting left tackle based on the decision to start him on Friday as opposed to starting Theo Benedict. So I think the biggest, you have to bring one or two pass rushers. And I know it's hard. I don't want to go full offseason mode right now, because I know that they've obviously invested a ton of money into that defensive line and they're not getting their money's worth at this point. But it's the number one concern. It's a big concern about why I think this team maybe can't be a contender, if we want to be negative, because they don't have an elite pass rush right now. And it just hasn't been working. But all right, I don't have any other negatives from Friday's game. So let's move on to, let's have a conversation here, Joe. The Bears are the number one seed in the NFC. They're 9-3 heading into week 13 or week 14, I should say. But here's the context. The Bears are 9-3, number one seed in the NFC. The San Francisco 49ers, the last wild card team, are 9-4. It's a tight race. It's a very tight race. The Packers are half a game behind you because they have that tie, and Detroit is 2 games behind you in the NFC North race. We're not going to get into the whole preview with the Packers. That we'll do that on Friday morning. But Joe, we named this podcast after this conversation. Bears are the number one seed at this point. Are they true contenders in the NFC at this point?
Well, deep down, I say no. They're not better than the Rams. I don't know if they're better than Seattle. The Niners, I'm still thinking of the blowout last year. I know they've come so far from a year ago, but you still got to go there and play them in a couple of weeks or 3 weeks, whatever it is. But other teams just keep dropping off. We say every week, too, like every team has issues. And I think last week I said every team in the league has issues, except I guess the Rams and the Patriots, and the Rams lay an egg. So they got issues too, I guess. But the Bears, you mentioned it, the lack of the pass rush, and we have an entire, next 9 months to talk about that, how they can fix that pass rush. They're not going to fix it anytime soon. They can't fix it this year. No one's going to emerge. Grady Jarrett isn't. Maybe Grady Jarrett should start sipping what Kevin Byard is drinking. Maybe he can turn back the clock a few years too. Maybe you can get a little more out of him. But in all seriousness, I just don't see. I mean, it's that they're in this conversation for the top seed is ludicrous. I mean, a week ago we were like, are the Bears good yet? We still don't know. Maybe we'll find out against Philadelphia. Philadelphia probably beats them, and it's like, oh, more questions about the Bears. But now the Bears are getting all the love in the world after that performance, and they should. And now all of a sudden the Rams lose. Teams are, and what the heck has happened with Detroit? And to me, I know you're going to have them at home before the season ends, and I'm thinking they still whacked you 52-21 the last time. Are you 30 points better now this time around? Or more, 20, 31. I guess you have to be 31 points better or whatever, 32 points better. I don't know. To me, like you go into every game thinking, I don't know, can they beat the Packers at Lambeau? Are they going to have a letdown? They shouldn't have a letdown. You're going against your number one rival at their place here. There shouldn't be any letdown. But every week, this is why I don't bet. But I wouldn't bet everything on the Bears to win Sunday after what they did in Philly. All the momentum's with the Bears. So I don't know, Michael. I don't want to be the doubter, but I guess maybe as a Chicago fan my whole life, I'm. It's part of my DNA now, being a cynic.
Yeah, I left that game kind of still with I think the Bears answer that they're a real playoff team. I think they are a playoff team. I think they're coached excellently. I think they're more disciplined than they were at the beginning of the season. I think that the Bears really benefited from playing bad teams early, right? Like, obviously you had that tough start against the Vikings and the Lions, but when you play the Cowboys defense was not great, right? Like they didn't have Javonte Williams. When you play the Raiders and all that kind of stuff, and you had some, you had to make some plays, but I think the Bears benefited where a lot of, coaching staffs, you're learning, right? You're learning how to play for this coaching staff, and you're learning how to be a good team, and the culture, and buying into whatever Ben Johnson is selling you, right? And I think the Bears had the benefit of playing bad teams to do that, and they found ways to win games, right? When I don't think if the Bears if the schedule was inversed and you were playing the 40, but then again, you can make the argument that the 49ers were injured, and what were the 49ers at the beginning of the season, right? So it's just, I think that I've learned that this Bears team is well coached, and they've got talented players, and they're playing well, and I think that they're a playoff contender. Do I think that they're contending for a Super Bowl? I think they're missing the biggest piece right now, and that's a pass rush. Turnovers can only get you so far, so many times. And I'm not trying to say that turnovers are fluky, that they're accidents. You put a lot of work into takeaways. Like, you put a lot of research into it in order to force it. But if you're not getting a pass rush, I don't think you're stopping Matthew Stafford. I don't think you're stopping Brock Purdy. I don't think you're stopping Jordan Love. I like Jared Goff. Like, these quarterbacks that you're going to be playing against, even Shedeur Sanders has shown you that he can run well and makes the plays from time to time, right? Yeah. So I just think that this team is going to make the playoffs. I think they find a way to win a couple more games in this next game stretch, and they make the playoffs, and they accomplish what I think a lot of Bears fans at the beginning of the season would have been thrilled with. Make the playoffs, win 11 games. Cool. Good. I think every Bears fan is fine with that. And but I just think that to be a contender to reach the NFC Championship game, I think that they're missing the biggest hole right now, and that's the pass rush. And I think you can get through it sometimes, but a lot of these teams that make the playoffs, it's good quarterback play, good offensive line play, and a pass rush. And the Bears are missing one of those key components right now.
Yeah, and again, the Bears too, they're not turning the ball over. Even with the Caleb, fumble or interception against Philly. I mean, the Bears had two takeaways to one. So they still won that. And when Caleb threw a rare interception, their quarterback, it was more rare to throw an interception, and it happened. But you're right. Defensively, they've been vulnerable all year against the pass, against the rush. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's playing. And the Bears have had a lot of breaks this season, not facing Joe Burrow, not facing Lamar Jackson. They lost the Baltimore game anyway. But it just kind of worked out that way. But the best thing you can do for the defense is what they did Friday, is keep them off the field and control the clock. And as much as you'd love to see, we all want to see Caleb throw for 350 and 4 touchdowns. Maybe the best way you can do that, great, please. If you can do that, please go ahead and do that. We're okay with that. But if you run the ball, control the clock like they did, like I can't remember the last time the Bears have controlled the clock like they did Friday in Philadelphia. If you can do that and keep the defense off the field, that's how the defense gets better, by not playing, by not playing downs. But can they keep? Because eventually the offense is going to fizzle. They do. We always say, like, there's always points they left on the field. It happened again Friday in Philly, right? First drive. It was the first drive of the game, or when Monunga got stuffed on the 4th and 1. Missed by inches. The call was overturned. So that's always the case. But I don't know. Look, they got 5 left. They're going to win at least 1 here, and maybe more, maybe 3. The way they're playing now, and
I don't think 1 win gets you in at this point. 10 wins with how everyone else is playing right now. Like, you got to win 11, 12 games to make the playoffs. It seems like in the NFC this year. It
could be, but you know what? All of a sudden, you go back to the beginning of the season where you kind of like, everyone does a loss, win, loss. You go down the schedule. We did it. All fans do it. These are games that were supposed to be the losses. The Pittsburgh, the Philadelphia, Green Bay at least once. Probably lose to the Lions twice. Niners game, that's going to be a loss. We don't know anymore. We just don't know anymore. And every week again, I know they've been saying it forever, but any given Sunday, more games again yesterday where I don't want to see our Shaw picks, how I did this week, because I know it was bad again. But I mean, Washington almost beat Denver last night. It goes to OT. So It's crazy. But 5 weeks, it's going to be we've said it for the last few weeks. It's going to be a grind, and that'll it's not going to be like they have a playoff spot clinched in 2 weeks if they win 2 more. You're right, Michael. It's probably going to go down to the last week of the regular season.
Yeah, I think they're a real team. I think they're good. I think they qualify for the playoffs at the end of this thing. But yeah, the whole Super Bowl thing, it's fun. I think it's fun. That'll be the number 1 seed this week. I think they're a really good team. I'm not trying to discredit anything. Like you said, anything happens every single week. But I think when things kind of play out here over the next 5 weeks, I think the Bears are closer to that 5 or 6 seed. Maybe. Listen, they can continue to prove us wrong. They proved us wrong in Philadelphia. They proved us wrong in all these different matchups. And it's been fun to kind of watch them prove us wrong. But listen, I think the biggest thing at this point is think about where this franchise was a year ago. A year ago, the Bears were getting embarrassed in front of a national audience. Their coach didn't know what he was doing down the at the end of the game. Coach was fired. The Bears coach was allowed to talk on Black Friday morning, acting like, and he said that he's planning on San Francisco. Then an hour later, he was fired. And now now you're 9-3. Your coach is taking the shirt off so that everyone can eat free hot dogs on Tuesday. Like the vast difference between last year to this year is just phenomenal, I think, for Bears fans.
And it's another reminder for any fan of whatever team. Things can change quickly, but you got to, and Bears have many opportunities to, change the narrative. You change the coach, you change management, the GM, you change the narrative, and then it's the same old, same old. But then Ben Johnson, that hiring finally happens. And oh my, I mean, you talk about a whirlwind of change for the better. And I think it's only going to get better. I'm not saying they're winning the Super Bowl this year, next year, who knows? That's, dynasties are hard to build. That's why there have been very few in the history of this great league. But they're trending up. I still don't think like they've peaked. This is as good as it gets. Sometimes you think they can't keep getting 2-3 turnovers a game. Maybe that they have a lull with that. But we know they're well coached. We know the coaches can win with guys who you weren't counting on necessarily at the beginning of the season. So even the injuries, because they'll happen. They happen every week to keep players in the league, unfortunately. Those will happen. But even if that happens to a particular player in the Bears, we've already seen, certainly there are certain guys that you might think are irreplaceable. But the Bears have shown they can win despite it all. And I think as a Bears fan, that's something to be encouraged about, that they got the coach right. And coaching in this league, I've said it many times, coaching in this league, maybe more than any sport, matters the most.
Yeah, and Caleb keeps harping on this after games too. Like, he knows that the offense hasn't hit its stride in the passing game yet. Mm-hmm. I feel like every game, not that he's not happy. He's obviously happy that his team is 9-3, but every game I feel like he kind of takes it upon himself and he knows, man, the passing game could have been better. Again, there's the context of the win on Friday, but even after Friday's win, he was kind of like, we've got a lot of talent on this offense, and I know that we can bring it on more. So it's something that they always talk about. They know that there's another level that they can hit, that they're not playing their best football yet. I think Friday was as close to it as possible given the conditions. The defense was great and everything like that. But there is still, I feel like, another level for this offense, especially to hit. Rick chiming in, a quick question. Ben has to be coach of the year.
100%.
I think it's kind of changed a little bit here. I think Indy's obviously fallen off here a little bit, so I don't know if that's going to be a thing. I think if the Patriots finish the way they do, I think Vrabel probably wins it. But I do think Ben Johnson's probably number 2 right now. I think it probably goes Mike Vrabel, Ben Johnson, and I mean, Kyle Shanahan, for what he's done with the 49ers, I mean, with all the injuries that they've had, I mean, he has to be a contender there too. But the Colts guy, I think him and Vrabel were the favorite. But after the last tough losses for the Colts, I think he's fallen down in those standings.
Well, I think the one thing I'll just say this about Ben Johnson, why I think he could get it, is because, say what you will, but these post game, the good, better, best thing, this stuff is going viral. I mean, this is not just in Chicago, but fans across this country are seeing this, and there's just so much Ben Johnson love and attention now. And Vrabel's just not. He would have been choice number 2 for me going into the offseason. Would have been Ben Johnson 1, Vrabel 2, and they both lived up to the expectations. And you can't say anything negative about the Patriots, but Ben Johnson just seems to be getting this love. This taking the shirt off in the locker room yesterday. People are eating that up. So there's a lot of times it's a popularity contest. It can sway people. Let me put it that way. And I think Ben has that going. Maybe Vrabel does that next week, and now it's a draw.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of how it goes, that the Patriots and the Bears are very happy with their coaching hires.
Right.
Obviously getting the most out of their quarterbacks. They're both kind of in a similar position, right? Like they both got second-year quarterbacks, new head coaches. So you have to be really encouraged if you're not that the Patriots have been slumming it for that long. Let's not pretend like it's been so hard to be a Patriots fan. The 2 years maybe that they were bad. Yeah, the 2 years that they were maybe bad for a lot of friends out there who are Patriots fans. I don't really feel too badly for them now that they're back on top after a couple tough years. But that's everything that we've got for this morning edition of the live stream. We'll obviously break down a big game against the Packers on Friday morning, so make sure you guys join us there. Thank you to everyone who joined us on the live stream, whether it was on Facebook or YouTube. Make sure you give us like wherever you are to kind of support us. Make sure you subscribe so you know when we're going to be doing our live streams. Always love having you guys part of the conversation. Appreciate the chat bopping this morning. Make sure you also, if you're listening on the podcast, make sure you subscribe. We really appreciate it wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you want to be part of the live stream conversation, make sure you check out our social medias. I'm at Dwojak94, Joe's at Joe Aguilar 64. We usually do this on Friday and Monday morning. Sometimes that changes, but make sure you're checking out our social medias if you want to be part of the conversation. All right, we'll have a Friday morning breakdown of a big Week 14 matchup against the Green Bay Packers. It's kind of fun to have this game mean something. It hasn't really meant anything for the past, 5-6 years at this point for a lot of Bears fans. So it's exciting for this game to have a lot at stake. It'll have a Fox primetime crew on Sunday afternoon. So excited for that matchup. But until then, make sure you guys have a good week. Check out all our work this week, and we'll talk to you folks on Friday morning.